Hello and welcome to the fourth annual Global Men's Summit. This year we have a focus on fatherhood, and I am really excited to introduce you to this incredible man, Storic, who has joined us from Canada, though originally from Scotland. He is the founder of Awaken the Sleeping Lions, and today he's going to talk to us about the alchemy of becoming a father, purpose on steroids, and the dark masculine rising. So, Silver, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's an absolute honor to be here, and I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you, Alicia, for creating this incredible summit. I truly believe that we rise together, and to have the support of the divine and fierce feminine is really what men need to light a bit more fire under our arses to get us moving and to get us into courageous leadership. So thank you for everything that you're doing to bring all these incredible leaders together.
Thank you, Silver. I deeply appreciate that.
You're
We
welcome.
have a, we have a nice group today.
Welcome, Ty. It's great to see you here, brother.
And Tyler, feel free to unmute yourself at any time, and Manuel as well, if you have any questions or want to just jump into the conversation in general. I'd like it to be interactive.
Fantastic. So how would you like to begin, Alicia?
Well, Silver, tell us a little bit about your personal story with fatherhood and what you struggled with and the wisdom you acquired thereof.
Thank you for asking. It's such a great question. And I suppose with my dad leaving when I was 8, it made me step up as the man of the house. I took that upon myself at a very, very early age. And I also took it upon myself to constantly look for how I can improve myself as a man. And my perception of that became very, very skewed. It became dictated by the perceptions of my mother and her experiences of the men in her life. And it was a real challenge for me not having a role model growing up. You know, my dad was there at the weekends. He would show up and he would do stuff with us, and then he vanished to another city, and he was just going through his own stuff. And I'm trying to work out how to be a man. And it was a real challenge. And I kept kind of bypassing my own needs and speaking to my dad from my brother's point of view and saying, my brother Jay needs you, Dad. He needs you. But I never really admitted to him that I needed him. I kind of created this strong stoic persona that I was good. I was the man of the house. I was the man of the family. I would look after my brother. I would work this out. And it took me probably 35, 40 years until I joined my first men's group to really understand that I had a absent father. And then as I'm working through this journey of manhood, I also realized that I could not understand everything there is to be a man without being a father.
Mm.
Yet this piece eluded me. I couldn't find my mate to have a child with. And when I did have a mate, then all these inadequacies would come in, and I would question whether I was ready yet. And so this hasn't happened until the ripe young age of 49. And I can say gladly that I am the father of a 9-month-old son. And it has brought so many blessings to my life to be a father of a son, because I see this as one of our most important pieces of the puzzle of our ascension as humans, and really carrying on the evolution that our forefathers have made, is that relationship between fathers and sons. So it's been a very, very enlightening journey.
That's beautiful. How did you work through those feelings of inadequacy as you had your son, birth and through the last 9 months?
It was probably about 6 months before he was born. I just realized that I did not want my son to carry everything that I had carried throughout
Mm,
my life. The inadequacy, the depression, the self-doubt, the lack of self-worth that I battled with for, you know, 35 years because I didn't have that affirmative father figure who was saying, "Well done, Silver, congratulations. Yeah, you're playing great at basketball. You won another game, you won a title. Incredible." You know, there was no affirmation whatsoever. So there's a massive knock-on effect of that, and I did not want my son to carry that cross, if you like. So I very quickly set about cleaning up all these pieces, and yeah, in that 6 months, I really discovered so many missing pieces of myself. I learned how to self-father. I learned how to father myself, which was one of the greatest gifts, bringing in self-praise and self-celebration, like
that's
celebrating
beautiful.
the things that I'm doing well and really getting into the nuts and bolts of my psyche and how it works and learning to become the master of it as opposed to becoming the master of me, getting into the minutia of the negative self-talk and
That's a
finding
really
out
beautiful point.
and finding out where those threads came from. So traveling down each thread and going, okay, yeah, that's because my dad never praised me. He never told me he loved me, ever. Okay, now I understand that. So I wouldn't say it was a journey of healing. And this is something that I'm quite passionate about because the context and the language that we use is so important. And I see there's a lot of narrative around healing, and it's like how does one know that one is healed?
Good question.
Like how do you know that? And I'd been searching for most of my life, and then I was like, okay, what about integration?
Mm,
Traveling down these threads of our subconscious so that we can understand them and integrate them into our being. Like this makes the man that I am.
yeah,
This journey that I've had of adversity has shaped me as a man. It's given me the tools and the insights to be able to support other men. And that is an incredible gift.
absolutely.
And it's fucking liberating.
Can imagine. I can imagine it would be. Is that what you mean by the purpose on steroids? Is how you really just honed in over that 6 months with the purpose of kind of the alchemy of fatherhood? Or tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, that was the catalyst because it really gave me self-belief. It's like, wow, yeah, these are the pieces that make me the man that I am. And now I have even more capability to serve more men. And then this piece around my mental health came up, which I'd been challenged by for 35 years. And a friend said that, the best thing you can do as a father is to have your mental health in check. I'm like, okay, shit, I better sort this out. Because it was taking me out. My brain was just like spinning its wheels constantly. And because of that, I was making bad and unhealthy choices just to try and keep going and function
Sure.
in the world. So leaning towards addictive behaviors and disassociation and sugar and caffeine and stimulants just to try and get my head above water.
Sure.
So I put everything that I'd learned over the last 15, 20 years of self-discovery together into the men's mental health method. And I started applying all these daily disciplines and practices from supplementation and healthy brain support to daily exercise and movement, and altering the way that I was breathing through my nose instead of breathing through my mouth, taping my mouth at night, and sleep protocols and
Interesting.
breath work, and so many other pieces, the self-fathering, the gratitude, the celebration, and just put it all together. And suddenly, for the first time, my head was above water and I was surfing the waves of
Amazing.
life.
So beautiful.
I was in love with life again. And my unborn
Mm.
son said to me, "Okay, Dad, now that you've sorted yourself out, you're going to have to share this with 100,000 men." I'm
Mm.
like, I thought about it for a half a second and I'm like, okay, I'll take that on.
Beautiful.
Ever since then, my purpose has been on steroids.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, would you like to pop in with any questions, comments in this space? Feel free to unmute yourself if so. Here.
Hello,
And
hello, Alyssa.
hi, Tyler.
Hey, Ty, great to see
Hey
you
guys.
tuning in from Australia.
Yeah, thank you, Silver. I'm going to speak quietly because my children are sleeping nearby. I just wanted to make a note of my observation, like my witnessing of Silver's purpose on steroids. Um, I have known Silver for some time now, and I've seen this incredible transformation, this like uplifting, empowering energy that he has harnessed, and because he's shared it with me. Um, yeah, I wanted to just like express my gratitude for it because Silver's journey, it's a powerful one, and his sharing of it and like spreading this energy to men, it's so important. Like, just wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you, Silver, for what you're doing. It's really made a huge difference for me and for my family, and it continues to. And it's actually inspired me into my purpose to also uplift, people, human beings, spread love and personal belief, encourage people to find what they're looking for. And so, thank you so much, Silver.
It's an honor. It's gratefully received, and it's wonderful to see you thriving and the knock-on effect that that has on you leading your family and your greater mission on this earth, which is what it's all about. As men, it's having that mission that's bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful, Tyler. Thank you so much for sharing.
Silver, this is Calvin Evans, and I wanted to say thank you for sharing. And I just have a quick question for you. Have you had the opportunity of talking with your dad, or contacting him, or him contacting you since you started the journey?
It's a great question, and yes, we have an interesting relationship where we don't really communicate much over the phone or with video. If there is any communication, it's generally by text. And I hadn't seen him for 4 years, and we had to make a concerted effort to travel to Europe this year because I just felt that my son was reuniting our family. He was bringing us together. The first child for between my brother and I. So my dad becoming a granddad for the first time. And when I asked him how he was feeling about it just before he was born, he was like, "I always wanted to be a grandfather." And it's like, wow, I never knew that. And that opened up my heart more to him. And when I saw him in person, I did have all these resentments. He's owed me money for a while and a decent amount, and there was all these resentments around that. We were having a battle around it, and I was like, God, I want this all cleared up so that we can just be together as a family and create magical memories together. And it wasn't cleaned up by the time I got there, but what happened was I just entered into this space of letting the past go. I just let the past go completely. And what happened was we could just be together. And I feel shivers in my whole body around how special that was, to be able to call him granddad, to watch him hold his grandson, and with there being no resentment from the past in the field. And through that, there being conversations around, what was your childhood like, Dad? And I think that's what our children give us, this opportunity into, finding out what our own childhood was like in our, baby years, which we can't remember. We get a picture of it through them. And also being able to ask our parents how we were parented, what the challenges were. Like my mom told me, she used to shake me vigorously because I would scream for hours. As we know, that's very traumatic for a child. And, putting these pieces together are so important, though, and understanding the struggle that she went through with that, and understanding that his dad never spoke to him. Like, never spoke to him unless he was shouting at him or chastising him or wronging him. So I'm glad you brought this up, Calvin, because it's really important for us to have these conversations with our parents.
If I can, I would love to just jump in on this conversation, because I was in a similar space in my head before Calvin asked that question. And but before I do, thanks, Silver, for sharing your story. It's, I've heard a new piece that I haven't heard before, and it's such such important work, and I'm so grateful that you're doing it and being a part of the evolution of us as men. So I'm really grateful to you. And also, Alicia, thank you so much for putting on this summit and getting powerful men like Silver to share their message.
Thank you.
What occurred for me around this conversation with your dad is a shift from judgment and resentment to one of curiosity. And I have been going through a similar process with my father, which has been 2.5 years of going through it. And what it started with was me making a decision to ask my dad to tell me his story. Tell me about your life, your childhood, your school, your journey as a parent, because I'd never had that conversation with him. I had all these judgments, very similar to you. Well, my parents split up. He went off to a different country. I didn't see him basically for 10 years. And I had so much blame and pain and judgment, and the decision to change that to curiosity was a real game changer. And I mean, the journey continues, and it's, there's still a lot that hasn't been said, but it opened the door. Like, me giving him the permission to be seen by me opened the door for the difficult conversations around, well, when these things happened, these were the feelings that happened in me. I felt abandoned. I felt like you didn't care. I felt like your life was more important than mine, etc., etc. And the shift in me to one of curiosity opened up the possibility in him to actually hear that and receive it and engage in a conversation around it, rather than just feeling like I thought he was a piece of shit, which I did for a lot of my life. And just that. I love that piece that you shared, Silver, about letting the resentments go and letting the past be the past.
Thanks for that context, Tom. And I'm so delighted to hear that you're having that curiosity and conversation with your father, and really getting into understanding his story. It's so vital, because our fathers are wounded a lot of the time. There's certain needs that they never had met, and never thought that could be met. and they just had to be strong and stoic through it all. And we also have no idea of the role that our mothers played in that relationship dynamic that created the breakup. Like my mom was very controlling, for example, and my dad just could not handle it. But if we don't understand and ask the questions, then we never really get these insights, and we just blame our fathers. And I think there's way too much blame on fathers. You know, this is something that we have to move through collectively. So
Just jump in a
also,
little bit. Oh,
oh,
go ahead.
Jason,
Finish up.
go ahead.
Hey. No, Silver, I just wanted to, I came in a little bit late, but I think I heard most of what you were speaking, and it was so striking, and thank you. I really, I'm so struck by the stories you shared. And the thing that you said that is along the theme of what some other people said is, your son is bringing your family together, right? And what an amazing thing, like when you're saying like you then went and talked to your dad, right? Like as a son, right? And so sons connecting with fathers, going the other way. I once
Yeah.
told my son, you're my best teacher. And he was about 7 when I told him that. He's remembered it forever, and now
Yeah.
he's an awesome pain in the ass 15-year-old. And every time I'm annoyed, he goes, "Remember, I'm your best teacher." And so I'm so struck by that, and I think it is really vital. I have I'm really blessed and happy to say, like, I have a wonderful relationship with my dad, and he's been great. But when my son was born, he was way overweight, couldn't get on the floor. And I said to him, like,
Oh,
you want to be able to play with my kid on the floor? And he lost 70 pounds.
wow.
Like, it was the first time I've seen him exercise since I was a child.
That's
And
incredible.
right. So like it on so many levels, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, whether it's intergenerational, the openness to multi-directional change through stories is so powerful. And I really appreciate what you're saying. The question that I have for you, which may not have an answer, but it's one that I really love asking lots of people, and it's particularly poignant here, is I'm curious, as your son gets older, what kind of stories in the vein of what you shared today are you looking forward to sharing with him?
That's a great question. And I totally agree that children are our greatest teachers. They teach us so much every day. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to sharing the journey, sharing the truth with him so that he knows, you know, the challenges, the magic, the love. He knows everything about the journey instead of being wondering, just wondering what happened, which many of us do. It's like, well, we're trying to put the pieces together in our brains, and then we have all these fallacies and stories going on as to what's actually real. So I just want him to be able to have an open book as far as, being able to ask whatever questions he wants about his upbringing, about me, about what I'm challenged by, and, about his grandfather as well.
Beautiful.
Great question.
Thank you for sharing all that. And Jason, like, wow, that's so amazing that he lost 70 pounds so that he could be there for that moment. Just, yeah, kudos to him for sure. And creating that kind of relationship dynamic where that was possible for you guys to listen and be there for each other in that journey. Silver, we have just a little bit of time left. So would you like to talk to us a little bit about the dark masculine rising?
We have 4 minutes left, is that correct?
We have 4 minutes in general. I build in a 10-minute buffer for excellent conversations if it needs to continue. I want to give just
Okay.
at least a couple minutes in between before Jason is on next as a speaker, so that people can have a chance to get up and go to the bathroom if necessary before we go on to the next. We don't want to miss anything.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, just following on the thread of children being our greatest teachers, a friend mentioned to me that, these children that are being birthed, they're operating on a much higher frequency than us. And the older we are, normally the denser our frequency, because we've had this so many archaic things to move through. So that was really calling me to my highest. I thought I was patient. I thought I was present until my son was born. And then suddenly my capacity and my time to do all the things that I was doing, which was a lot as far as building a new business, a men's movement, courageous leadership programs. And I've got this huge purpose inside me that's bursting through, yet my time has diminished dramatically with like six hours of childcare a day, because my wife is a incredible somatic therapist and counselor, so she has her own practice as well, and we have to share the parenting. And I think that was the single most frustrating thing. It was just like, oh my God, I'm just like chasing through the day, trying to get everything done, keep the house tidy, look after my wife who's in postpartum, who had an emergency C-section, and trying to get her back to health, trying to get her to sleep, and soothing the baby. And then there's two cats running around and they're fighting and crying and needing fed. And I'm like, fuck, I just need to provide. I've created a financial runway, but this is only going to last, 3 or 4 months. So I need to be in provider role, and I'm unable to do that. So there was just all these irritations that turned into frustrations, that turned into anger, and flashes of uncontrollable rage would come out. And I'm like, whoa. Because I've been very stoic my whole life, and I hadn't been able to access anger or rage. I wasn't able to express it externally until I would eventually pop like a pressure cooker, and people would be like, whoa. It scared the shit out of somebody. It was like, it was all internalized. That was my journey of expressing emotions. I was crying on the inside. I was angry on the inside. I was raging on the inside. I was sad on the inside and depressed on the inside. So all these irritations, and the baby screaming and biting me and kicking me in the nuts when I'm almost, I'm 4 or 5 hours into the shift, and I'm trying to manage everything, and I'm wiping his ass, and then he kicks me in the nuts, and I'm just like, ah. And he really brought this dark masculine out of me. It's just like deep shadow work. Deep shadow work. And I would get angry with him, and I'd be resentful towards him. And then the shame would creep in, and I'm like, what the fuck? This is an innocent little child, and I'm being angry and resentful towards him, and at times wanting to kill him. I will admit that, because I was just trying to hold everything together, and it was a lot to hold. It was a lot to hold. And I was really understanding how babies are murdered by their parents. In these times where you just can't hold it together. It's just too much. I could see how it happens. Why a mother would shake their child to death. So it really connected with me with that dark side. And once I became able to understand it and to express it in my men's group, and share it externally, going hiking up into the mountain, into the woods, and getting a whole stack of branches and smashing them against rocks, and just like screaming and roaring and getting it all out, and smashing mattresses and screaming into pillows, just like cultivating it. Then I was able to transfer it into my message, and my voice and the resonance of it and my message increased dramatically. It became more profound, and men started really showing up and resonating with that ferociousness, that fierceness. So deeply, deeply grateful for my son and the adversity and the challenges that we've had to overcome as a family to shake that loose, because yeah, I cannot be stoic any longer.
Silver, I really appreciate the deep vulnerability in which you just shared with us, because it is definitely a topic I feel that is not brought to the surface for people in public, and that people struggle in silence and in shame. And understanding that it can be normal to feel those sorts of things. And just because you feel them, you think them, does not mean that you are going to have any intention of taking action on said feelings, thoughts, etc. But being able to acknowledge them, and then, as you said, going into the woods and breaking things and screaming into the pillow, and allowing us to then move that energy that's extremely powerful through us in a healthy, functional way that does not damage us internally or externally or other people.
Absolutely. It's so, so vital. And, I ended up with this moment of rage where I had my son's cheek in my mouth because he was on my shoulder screaming in a really critical moment. And I was just like an angry lion, just ready to just, stop that.
Mhm.
And I was ready to bite down. I didn't, but he screamed because of the shock of it all. And I knew that I had to share this publicly, and when I did, a lot of other men reached out to me saying that they'd had similar incidents with their child, and one of them had even thought about taking his own life because that was one of the stories that was coming up around, him being a bad person and him having to end it all. And another man shared how he thought he'd broken his daughter's arm, and if we have to have the conversation, we cannot hold this inside us as men. It will eat us up, and this is why men do take their own lives, because they don't have permission to share the darkness.
I agree. I agree. It's something I think that is on both sides of the gender spectrum, that it's not socially acceptable for us to share the darkness. There's all sorts of different terms that go with both sides, and it's not really acceptable for us as a society to continue to shove things down on humanity and not create safe spaces for us to have those conversations before it comes to a point where you feel like you're going to explode. Right? Instead of just getting to be vulnerable and come to a safe place where you can just start the conversation and receive the support that you need. So,
Exactly. And for men who struggle with vulnerability, it's an edgy word for me. I don't believe we need more weak and vulnerable men. Vulnerability. There's a lot of vulnerable men already. They're really vulnerable inside. What I am an advocate for is courage. And it's something that it's a masculine energy that we can really buy into. And I really believe we're entering the year of truth. Just tell the truth. Just tell the truth.
yeah, I love that you and I started a conversation before the summit started today about radical truth. And I think that's exactly what you're hitting on right now, is creating that space of safety where people can express radical truth.
Yeah. Just tell the truth about what's going on, and you will gravitate the right people towards you. We need a deeper connection. We don't need to be saying that we're fine and we're good and we're okay when we're not. Just tell the truth, guys. And people will show up. The right people.
It's true. Well, Silver, I so appreciate everything that you shared with us today, your truth, your wisdom, and the incredible impact that you are clearly making on this world. And so thank you. If you could put your contact information in the chat for anyone who would like to reach out to you, who doesn't already know you and would like support from you, that would be lovely. And gentlemen, if you have any last questions or comments, as we have 4 minutes before Jason gets to join us, and I would like to be mindful of the time, go ahead and unmute yourself and hop on. Bye.
Hey, I just want to say acknowledge just one really important thing here, that the work, and the way that you men and these men are showing up right now for their families and their sons is so important for this intergenerational trauma that exists within us. So what these men, what's happening here is a breaking of the cycle. And this is really, really important. So I just wanted to take that moment just to like acknowledge like the significance of this work. It's just such a big deal. So thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well said, Ty. We are breaking the cycle. We are coming together through what I affectionately call the testiculum. You've heard of the mycelium network that connects all living things, the mushroom network, the trees, the plants. I truly believe that we're coming together as men through the testiculum to integrate all these intergenerational traumas so that we can rise together.
It's beautiful.
We're seeing it all over the world. There's men's groups and brotherhoods and men's workshops and retreats springing up all over the place. Sacred Sons are absolutely rocking it.
Yes, they are. Yes, they
They've
are.
served hundreds of thousands of men. Men like Wim Hof are stepping up big time to the plate. He's inspired 100 million people at this point to live strong, happy, and healthy, and to build resilience, which we need, getting in the cold water, building resilience, using the power of the breath to move through our fears. Never underestimate the power that one man has.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, it has been an honor and a privilege, as always, to share space with you today. And I want to say thank you to Silver, and we shall transition over to Dr. Jason S.